Heather McDonald has got the juiciest scoop. When you're on the road, when you're on the go, Juicy Scoop is the show to know. She talks Hollywood tales, her real life Mr. Segment serial data and serial sister. You'll be addicted and addicted fast to the #1 tabloid real life podcast. Listen in, listen up. Woo woo. Heather McDonald, Juicy Scoop.
Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. For more Juicy Scoop in your life, you're going to head over to heathermcdonald.net. There you're going to get the tickets to the November 14th live Juicy Scoop, which is during BravoCon weekend in Las Vegas, as well as my merch and of course my Patreon, which is the juiciest exclusive stuff, and links to all my socials. So head over there now. We got a lot to discuss in this episode, which is why I'm doing a solo. So many topics, so many updates. It's going to be juicy, it's going to be fun, but some of it is news-ish. So let me get to it as best I can. First of all, loved the response from Tuesday's episode for my niece, Devin LaBella. And a couple questions that came forward that people said was, I remember reading about this a couple weeks ago, and the response was, isn't she a serial accuser? No, Devin LaBella is not a serial accuser. That is absolutely not true. She's never sued anyone in her entire life. However, where that comes from is she was a student at one time at the James Franco Acting School. And if you remember that story, there were accusers there that felt things were wrong, things that went wrong. I'm not going to get into it. She was not a victim of that. However, part of that was people that did go there did get their little acting tuition back, which is, I don't know how much, but I assume it's, a few $100s for an acting class. So that's it. That's why her name happened to be mentioned in something else. And of course, their team, the Kevin Costner team, want to put that narrative out there. It's not at all true. Also, I find it interesting that a week ago, I was stopped at my party by the news people that I had there, which I loved. Thank you for the press that came. However, they did ask me about my niece, Devin LaBella, and what she's going through. And I spoke much like I did on my own show. Those interviews were never printed, aired, or used. And I thought that was very strange. And when we inquired about it, they said, oh, well, we didn't want to report on an ongoing lawsuit legal battle. Oh, really? These same news places stopped me and used interviews asking me about Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni, P. Diddy, every other case that's going on. You're telling me you don't talk about legal battles? So clearly, the powers that be, when you're as powerful as Kevin Costner and his attorney, Marty Singer, they have the ability, in my opinion, to get news to not go through certain channels. There's ways that this works in Hollywood. A PR person who has several other great clients that these people want to get on their show or to interview, they will gatekeep those if you go forward with this story. Don't put this person on your show, otherwise you won't get these valuable people. I've explained this over the last 10 years of Juicy Scoop. It's happened to me. It's happened to people I know. And so thank God I have Juicy Scoop, and thank God you guys are here and that people like Devin are brave enough to come forward. But this is what happens when you do speak up in Hollywood as a woman. Okay, moving on. Big cases. Right now, as I'm recording this, they do have a verdict in the Diddy trial. However, I don't know of his sentencing. In short, he was found guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, but not guilty on the racketeering, which was the real big one, and the sex trafficking charges. So according to the Cassie case and the Jane Doe, they were not seen as being trafficked, but the solicitude, prostitution, and transportation to engage in prostitution was. Those 2 counts, there could be a maximum of 10 on each of those, 10 years on each of those counts. So that could be up to 20 years. Nobody thinks he's going to get that, myself included. His kids were thrilled. They were dancing outside the courtroom. He fell to his knees, thanking everybody. His Attorneys appeared to have tears in their eyes. This was a big win for the defense. So we'll see. We'll see if he gets to go home for 4th of July. As of right now, we don't know yet, or what that sentencing, if any, what it will be. Again, I predict it'll be 36 months and he'll do a little over 2 years. Still my prediction. 50 Cent, always with the jokes. He immediately posted, Diddy beat the feds, that boy a bad man, beat the Rico, racketeering. The gay John Gotti. So, clever Fiddy. Oh, well, and you probably know about this case. What the latest is Brian Kohberger, who was the man on trial for killing the 4 Idaho college students in the home that they lived in. So horrible. He has reached a plea deal, and this was a big deal. At first, when I heard it, that he will be pleading to the murders for life in prison versus taking the death penalty off the table. Apparently, there was what I read, I don't even know if this is true, that there was going to be a death penalty by firing squad, that was an option if he'd gotten that during trial. Apparently, they did not speak to the victim's family, the prosecutors, before making this deal. That is unusual. It is unusual for California. I talked to our Juicy Scoop friend, Matt Murphy. He always was in very close contact with his victims as a prosecutor. They had his cell number. This would never have happened in a case that he did. He texted me that. I asked about that. But every state is different. And of course, there's 4 families that are victims in here. And I think 2 of them were very unhappy with this and wanted the trial. And one was not attending anything to begin with. And so I think they are probably at a little more peace that this is done. I just watched the judge ask him each victim, and he said yes, guilty to premeditated murder on all 4, which is really, that's probably part of the plea agreement. I don't know if he'll ever get in prison and then change his story and try to say something different happened, that he only meant to watch one of them sleeping and then they came and this is what he had to do. I don't know. But according to what we saw just now in the courtroom, he has admitted to premeditated murder of all 4 people, that he knew what he was doing, that he was planning on doing it. So now he'll do life in prison. And, it is a very hard thing. I can't even imagine what these families are going through. However, it's my understanding that someone who's on death row seems to have a lot more resources, and a lot more people want to save those people because it's death, versus when you get the life sentence. When you get the life sentence, it's very hard to get it overturned. It's very hard to get any legal people to try to help you. But the other idea is we'll never know why. We'll never understand why he did it. Who knows? Who knows what will happen with this guy? Who will be following him? What weird woman will want to, or man, will want to try to be his pen pal and want to marry him? That's going to happen, because it always seems to. Very disgusting. That's where we are with that. So that is a done deal for now. I thought this was crazy, according to the P. Diddy. Just one more thing on P. Diddy, because I have it in my notes. Want to see where Diddy's alleged Beverly Hills freak-offs went down? You can. Just head over to tmztour.com for tickets. So I guess there's one hotel that was a frequent place for the freak-offs. And now the TMZ, along with seeing where Marilyn Monroe's cottage was or whatnot, they'll take you there as well. At first I thought, that is so gross. But then I thought, you know what? They go by, I'm sure, the OJ murder scene and other places like that, and other gruesome things that have happened. So am I surprised? No. But you can go do that if you wish. Latest on Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. Blake Lively subpoenas Candace Owens and Perez Hilton in Justin Baldoni legal battle. This came out yesterday. Candace immediately spoke out and said, I have not received any kind of subpoena. The thought is this is a tactic on Blake Lively's team to get something out in the news. So essentially, when people type in what happened with subpoenas and Blake Lively. This will be the latest one, not the one that dealt with her old company that did the subpoena of getting the text messages to get the scoop about the PR people and the supposed smear campaign. It is a confusing case at this point, and it is kind of confusing trying to follow what people think her legal tactic is. It is very weird that that story went everywhere, TMZ, Us Weekly, that these content creators were in fact being subpoenaed when they're saying we have not received a subpoena. That is strange. Doesn't mean that it's not on its way or the person hasn't gotten it delivered or hasn't gotten to their lawyers. But it does seem like a strange tactic, and I don't know why anybody that's reporting on it, myself included, I don't think I'm going to get one, but what asset we would be to the case when we're just coming up with our own theories and conclusions and reporting on what we're seeing in the news. Of course, there's other content creators that have gotten a lot deeper and have read every page of every lawsuit, and they're not getting subpoenaed either. So this is just strange. It seemed like they kind of grabbed for the biggest, most notable names. Perez Hilton's been around forever. Of course, Candace Owens is huge. Strange, though. Weird. I don't know what the tactic is. This story had a happy ending, but I thought it was interesting for a number of reasons. On a Disney cruise, people said, oh my God, I heard this thud and then another, and a little girl had fallen 4 stories out of the big Disney cruise ship, and her dad immediately went after her. They threw down life jackets. It took about 10 minutes for them to get the lifeboat over to them. They are both okay. They're going to be fine. But now the article has come out saying all this report that had come where the dad was holding her up for a selfie photo and then she dropped and then he went after her, like worst dad on earth. Not true. He was actually a hero. That the child, I'm sure she didn't mean to, but she got over the railing and fell, and then he immediately, without thinking, jumped over after her. So he's in fact a hero. But there was a lot of internet talk on, these horrible hate groups and whatnot, destroying him as a dad. And it is now, according to New York Post, been cleared up that based on the eyewitnesses, no, there was some plexiglass that she got over. Very scary, especially after we talked about the poop cruise and all of that. Speaking of which, I also talked about in the last episode that I would like to go on the 200-person boats of the Ritz-Carlton. Well, they just did it with a bunch of famous influencer type people that does not include me. They did not invite me, Ritz-Carlton, and I told you I would like to go. It was Sofia Vergara and many others, some of which had just finished going to the Jeff and Lauren Bezos wedding, and then they hopped on this yacht with Martha Stewart, and they're all posting about it, and it looks fabulous, and they're in caftans and drinking champagne and taking sunset photos, and good for them. I'm talking about it, but I was talking about it for free, and you didn't invite me, so I still want to go on the Ritz-Carlton luxury cruise or Four Seasons, whichever. I like a small fancy boat. I'm here to go. Thank you very much. Couple things. People wondered, why did Eva Longoria not attend the Lauren Sanchez wedding since they had been friends for a while? Well, she had a project. She was filming. Also, Katy Perry didn't go. Katy Perry and Orlando are now breaking up. I believe they were married. They have one child, and they are done. And he did go to the wedding and she did not. Well, she had her tour. So I think it was in like Australia or something. There's no way you can get out of that, even for the biggest wedding of the year, because people would know. You can't just go, oh, my throat, I have a sore throat. And then you're like getting off the Venice taxis waving to go to the wedding. Like, you got to stick with your act. And then the girl just can't catch a break. I mean, first she tries to get a house from old nuns, and people find out that she was doing that. She also got her house from an old man in Santa Barbara, Cameron Westcott's father-in-law. She succeeded in that. Everyone was mean to her about going to space, if she went or not. And now she's missing the fun wedding while her ex goes with her friends. and she's got to do her show, which looks like a disaster. And I don't know who started all the stuff. I don't know if it was Pink that always was like flying around. I just said that Beyonce was stuck in the car. Like, nobody's just sitting and like singing and maybe like doing a few dances. She was in some weird ring thing and she got stuck for like a very long time. And I saw the video and people didn't know what was going on, but she was stuck there. And she's probably like, why the fuck did I decide to go on this tour? Like, this sucks. So anyway, and it looked pretty lame. People just need to just get back to like singing and stop wearing like weird robot outfits. Look, we all deal with bad hair days, but what if those days were a thing of the past? And they can be with iRestore Elite. You can say goodbye to thinning hair, say hello to fuller, healthier locks. The iRestore Elite is clinically proven to help regrow hair using 300 lasers and 200 LEDs that send light therapy directly to your scalp. You can just pop it on while you're watching your favorite show or listening to Juicy Scoop. It's hands-free. It's so easy to use. You just add it to your self-care routine. It is what you have been looking for. I love the thickening shampoo. It gives your scalp that fresh start. I also love their growth activating serum, which is a leave-in scalp treatment. It really boosts the follicle health. Give yourself the gift of hair confidence this year. For a limited time only, our Juicy Scoop listeners are getting a huge discount on the iRestore Elite when you use code JuicyScoop at iRestore.com. Head over to iRestore.com. Use code JuicyScoop for our show's exclusive discounts on the iRestore Elite. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Hair loss is frustrating. You don't have to fight it alone thanks to iRestore. Rosie O'Donnell also not happy with Jeff and Lauren Sanchez. And she wrote a little poem and said, if you'd like to know more about how much I hate them, you have to subscribe to my Substack. Listen, I like Rosie O'Donnell. I wish she was still on Just Like That, which I'm going to get into later in the show. However, it's kind of annoying to see certain multi-millionaires who have oceanfront properties and boats and things being so angry that these billionaires decided to have a lavish wedding that you weren't invited to. In my personal opinion, she's a bitter Betty too, along with Katie Couric. Neither of you are suffering, and it's just like, I know I'm a multimillionaire, but at least I'm not a billionaire. It's like, just shut up. Okay, so also I was thinking about the other rich man in our lives, Bill Gates. He got divorced from Melinda French Gates, and I wondered, where are they? What's going on with them? Well, she recently did an interview. Probably another one of her rich friends started a podcast. That's the new thing, by the way. It used to be that rich women, like a pretty mess, Erica Jane, would just like, I'd like to be a pop star. And then they just get all their money together and they become a pop star. Well, now they're just like, I think I'd like to be Heather McDonald, and let me just get my rich husband or whoever, and I'll just get my exciting friends, and we'll just set it up and have some real conversations. Yes, let's have, oh, wow, you are inspiring, Meghan Markle. Those type of really unfiltered conversations. Anyway, she did an interview. Seems like a cool woman. They got divorced. They had 3 kids. And she made it very clear that she alluded to infidelity on some level on his part. And also that she didn't like that he was, as my dad would say, asshole buddies with Jeffrey Epstein, and like went to Jeffrey Epstein's island and things like that, and had business or meetings with him. And I wondered, what's he doing? Has he sought out a Lauren Sanchez? Has he gotten on the HDH or something like it? And he has. And he's with this girl who is, she's also rich. She was a tech person. And I thought I had her name handy, and I don't. But anyway, she was married to the Oracle, which is huge, CEO, who unfortunately died a couple of years ago. He's worth $500 million, but she was already a tech exec herself. She was her husband who passed, she was the second wife. They are now dating, and they're going to basketball games, and they've been dating for a couple of years. She is, looks to be in her late 40s or something, so pretty much age appropriate for him. And he looks like he buffed out a little and got a little self-tanner too. So, and also his ex-wife has a boyfriend. So listen, billionaires are just like us. Savannah of the Chrisleys, she also sat down with now her newly released parents who were pardoned. This is Chrisley Knows Best, Todd Chrisley. We've talked about this case, so I know you're familiar. He is out. And he told a pretty juicy story. She was prompting him. She's like, no, you were madder than that. It was kind of a weird interview, but anyway, I mean, good for them. So he was at the same prison of another story I was obsessed with. Singer. Who's Singer, Heather? Singer is the guy, I think he's like 66 now. I don't know how much time he's doing, but I think it's quite a few years. He was the ringleader, the person who created the bogus company of helping people get into college, but really it was paying him, and then he would give part of the donation to somebody else at the school who was the coach. This was the college scandal that put Lori Loughlin and her husband Massimo behind bars for 5 to, I think maybe the husband did a year, 5 months to a year. Felicity Huffman did time. And so according to Todd Chrisley, he was like, I told that man, I don't like you. You're the biggest snitch in here. You snitched on my friend Felicity Huffman. You wore a wire and you entrapped them, and which I think is probably pretty true. But they're all guilty of doing this, and that's why they were found guilty. However, Singer was the one that was doing this, and we don't know how, this is the thing about it, we don't know how long this has been going on for. Only the people in the last few years that got caught did we know about. I believe this was going on for like 20 years, and where people would pretend to get through the school by being on a sport, or they would just give a huge donation, or it was also saying they had ADHD or needed special time to take the test, in which then they'd have a private proctor, and then that person would be paid off and would actually give them the answers. All of it was going down and was all through this guy Singer. Well, Chrisley and he got into it at the prison, and then, so he didn't like him already, and then he said, and then one day I walked in and I heard him talking smack about you, Savannah, and I went up to him and I said, keep my daughter's name out of your mouth or I'm going to rip off your head and shove it down your neck or something. Well, he said after that, they never really messed with each other again. Really kind of juicy about his prison life. And I suspect their new show, a lot of people will be watching, because it does remind us of that he's like this protective badass dad who loves fashion and can't get enough of his wife and misses all of the great men that he met behind bars. So he's an interesting character, hence why he gets reality show after reality show, even when he went to prison, though he always claimed his innocence. Okay, you know this story as well. Real Housewives of OC, Shannon Beador's ex-husband David Beador has been married to a woman named Leslie Beador for about 4 years or so. And they have a daughter about that age. I think they had the daughter before they got married. And they have done everything from post videos of them with their pants down, frolicking in the bushes of Italy, to their wedding, to beautiful pregnancy photos, to numerous filings of restraining orders on each other, as well as filing for divorce and then not getting divorced and then showing how happy they are in Montana, and it just goes back and forth. Well, he has now filed a restraining order against her, and it was granted for now, temporary. I believe it's temporary, based on the fact that they got in an argument and she gouged his arms, and he showed his arms that had looked to have nail marks and stuff in it. She had also previously tried to file a restraining order, or did, and then like didn't follow through. I don't know, saying that he was physically abusive to her. He says in this filing that she has always been after his money, and that she has even said in arguments that the only reason that she married him was to gain a luxurious lifestyle. And she has said that, you know, he's cut her off and how she's supposed to take care of her daughter and live. He wants her out of his Newport house, never to come near there again. She's currently in their Montana house, and they do share a 4-year-old daughter. So he, I'm sure, will have to pay some child support. But let's see if this final 4th time of filing for divorce on his side will actually go through. But not that I don't think this makes Shannon happy, because this kind of trauma with her daughter's father is not good for anybody. However, there's got to be a little bit of satisfaction of just like, really? And I was such a fucking nightmare? Are you kidding me? Hope you had fun wobbling around, sweating, going to Disneyland, buying this woman jewelry, and being a father to her kids, and being a 60-year-old dad to a 4-year-old, and then having to deal with accusations and triggering each other into, what a mess. And I would not put it past Bravo if they try to get this Leslie Beador on the show at one point. Do not be surprised if that happens in the future, especially if she officially gets divorced from him. Watch, they'll get her to be friends with some other girl, and then she comes around and they torture Shannon again. Lizzo reveals the 3 meals that she ate to reach her weight loss goals. And they are Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro. Ba-dum-bum. Hi, thanks. You can catch me here all week. Anyway, she looks good. Another Heather prediction. Heather, didn't you predict? Yes, I did. She looks good. She's happy. These things work. Don't hate her. She's in her mermaid phase, okay? She's loving life, taking photos. I don't know if she's doing any new music, but it's, you know, it's not about, it's the positivity that comes from it is that she likes the way she looks now, okay? On the other hand, everyone freaked out over Ryan Seacrest. He posted a photo of himself just enjoying his little summer break in the Hamptons or whatever. And they said, oh my God, he looks so thin. Is he okay? Well, one thing about Ryan Seacrest is he's very open about this. He struggled with this weight as a kid. And he, okay, I just want to make sure I'm still recording. Wait. Okay, we're at 26 minutes. Wait. One thing about Ryan Seacrest is he did struggle with weight as a kid. And he's talked about that, and he's always wanted to maintain the size that he is today. Also, the guy is 50, okay? People's faces and bodies change as they age. However, this stuff works. And if it makes you a little less hungry and you need to lose even 5 to 10 pounds, it can work for you. So maybe that's the case. But listen, I hate to tell you this, but thin is in. It's back. I mean, I've never seen such a quick, like, pendulum swing from just a few years ago. You'd walk in and every ad and every model was, you know, the curvy and all of that. And now it's not going to be that anymore. And it's just interesting how quickly things change. And just like that, I'm going to tell you some things that you might be surprised about. I am up to date with the show. As you're hearing this now, there'll be a new episode out. I got it. This is the biggest thing that people are talking about. What have you done to our characters and everything? Well, we, of course, miss Samantha. And Samantha was on Piers Morgan I think it was recent, but it might have been from a while back. And he brought up, would you ever go back? Why didn't you want to go back? And she said, I just wish that Sarah Jessica Parker was just a little bit nicer. And no, she really, that's her Samantha voice. She really talked like a normal person when she said that. But that's the truth. And talk about being probably really grateful that you weren't part of this. You didn't need the money. You didn't need the fame of it. You have other projects. She is so missed, and so many videos that people that are fans of Sex and the City are putting together of her character truly just being a wonderful, non-judgmental friend to all three of the girls. And it is a bummer. And I feel like Seema, who kind of is the Samantha of the group, she's the realtor. I almost feel like she's doing a slight Samantha impression. So she goes to get a bank loan, and she's talking to the female bank loan person. She wants a business loan so she can open her own real estate company. And she's like, I want to make sure that I can have my own business. Understand? A man who didn't do anything, just took it right from under me. Can you relate to that? And it was very Samantha. And the girl, coincidentally, I do love this. Listen, they have recycled a lot of old guest stars from Sex and the City onto And Just Like That. And I'm for it, providing they remain the character, like they come back into a scene. They did it this time. I realized that she was the same actress that played the woman who turned down Carrie when Carrie wanted a loan to buy her condo. They used the same actress. And then Carrie made a reference, oh, I remember I got a female too. So I kind of I think they should do more of that. I think it's fun to connect the dots for the people that are not going to stop watching this show. It is not the same. And you know why it's not the same? Why, Heather? Because they're 55. And yes, you loved it if you watched it while it was happening and you too were in your 30s, or you were a teenager and watched it, or you watch the reruns now as a twin, because it's fun. It was fun that they went on all these crazy dates and met weird guys and fell hard and then realized they had a strange kink. And that was relatable then, and it's relatable now. But if you are 30 and you're watching this show, you might think it's not relatable at all. But there are some things that are. It's just not as fun or juicy as when you were 35. It just isn't. And one of it was about Aiden, which we were all like, this is the weirdest thing, myself included, that he's like, see you in 5 years. Well, she goes to visit him and she realizes he has a real fucked up teenage son. And it is a dynamic that he cannot shield her from anymore, because the kid freaked out playing apples to apples and was angry at his brothers, who seemed to be more normal. And the 15-year-old kid broke a window and glass went shattering in her hair, like when Lisa Rinna broke the glass and said, don't talk about the husband, to Kim Richards. It was that same type of thing. And she was like, yeah, I get it now. I get it. And I don't want to deal with your disturbed son. And Aiden's like, I am not going to abandon this kid. I don't want to load him up with the Adderall like his mom wants him to. And I have to do what I can do. I love you, but no, my kid matters more than. And I think that is actually really great. I don't think enough people do that when they have fucked up kids and they want to find love for the second time around. So that I thought was a great storyline. You're like, Heather, I can't believe you're complimenting the show. I am. The other part was, but then there's some weird stuff. I'm not into Miranda's lesbian girlfriend. She's super boring, not funny, not interesting. And then she goes and moves in with Carrie, and we have to see a totally naked scene, unnecessary. Though I think her body looked nice, but I didn't need to see it. And then she eats the last yogurt, the last banana, and the last Mexican Coke. And even though everyone thinks Carrie's kind of a bitch, I'm like, yeah, what are you doing? You're staying there for free. Why wouldn't you go and say, I'm getting groceries. How do you want to do the food? How long am I staying here for? But it's a show, so okay, fine. And so that was about it. I don't even, I can't even remember the rest of the stuff because it is pretty dull. Oh, we're dealing with Charlotte's husband having prostate cancer. Again, sadly relatable to people, but not fun, but relatable. And then I feel bad that I was so mean to Harry that he pissed his pants at the club. I was like, why are we watching you try to whip out your dick? And it's because he had prostate cancer. I was mean to Aiden. He was trying to be a good dad. I was mean to Harry the first couple episodes, and he was just having, and he was just having a prostate issue. The editor. Oh. But the craziest part is the sexy editor, okay? Never in my life, in this business for all these years, have I ever seen a male editor that is that buffed out and fashion forward as her hot male model turned film editor of a documentary. An editor sits in a dark room by himself all day long. That's not someone who has time to go get earrings, a necklace, and it's like the edit, like if she's gonna go screw somebody out, and also her being like, she wouldn't be dressed to the nines every time she was in the editing bay either. This is the girl I'm talking about. Lisa is her character's name. So that's just ridiculous. But you know what? We get some eye candy, but please don't take me out of these things. And then we have to deal with the bitchy daughter who is like, Mom, I don't want to go glamping. Now my ballet boyfriend is going to get an extra weekend with his boyfriend when it's my weekend I'm like, to what? So I mean, to have to think about it, like where she's like, well, I'm glamping. His boyfriend's blowing him when I should be blowing him. God, Mom. It is that the polyamorous thing, as now that isn't relatable, but at least it's something. At least it's something. I do think the scenes drag on. I don't know. Something else needs to happen. I've given my predictions. Seema's going to get with the gardener. They're going to be having hot sex. And the autistic nephew's going to walk in. That is going to happen. Something's going to happen. Wait. I have it's not a prediction because it won't happen, but it's a wish. How good would this be on the show? For those of you that are watching this, Miranda is infatuated with the writer who lives downstairs, who's English, who smokes a pipe, okay? But he did take his neighbor, Carrie, out to dinner because at first they didn't like each other because Carrie wanted to get her groove back. So 60-year-old Carrie is wearing heels in her house all day long just to feel sexy. That is completely unbelievable. The fact that nobody that's that age wants to wear heels more than they have to for a few hours at a dinner. Certainly not going to walk around their own house when no one's looking without taking off their shoes. I want to see Carrie fall in her shoes and end up in a boot, an orthopedic boot. Even better, a little scooter where she's on one leg scooting around. That would be fun. And when that happens, Miranda runs into the author downstairs, and it could go two ways. He's not finishing the book. She turns Kathy Bates on him, and like Misery to get him, and she also needs a place to stay, so she's secretly staying downstairs. He's trapped to the bed, and she's making him type. Okay, that's my one wish. But a more realistic one is, how good would it be if she gets drunk talking about Marie Antoinette or something with him, and they have sex while Carrie is in the boot. And then Carrie's like, first my yogurt, and now my one prospect who lives downstairs? Miranda, I thought you were gay. And then, that's the best part, I'm bi. That would be so good if these two women both like the same guy, and she's pissed because she thought there was one less person in her life as competition because Miranda had been in a gay relationship. but she will go straight when it comes for her favorite author. I pray. I can only do so much. Wait, it's coming to me. It's coming to me. One more idea to save, and just like that. Okay, what if the English pipe smoking author is in Miranda's head, and while she's talking to her boring BBC English girlfriend, the English girlfriend goes, "You're really quite stunning, but what I want to know, what are your fantasies?" And then Miranda goes, "I mean, it's kind of crazy. You are everything, but I'm very attracted to my favorite author who lives just below Carrie. And, oh, you're telling me that you missed the D? You mean the dick? Well, I guess I do need to spell it out for you, don't I? Yes, yeah, I guess I do. Well, that can be arranged. There's hardly a man that turns down a threesome. And in fact, when I was in London, I had one with just such an author. I think you would like possibly to do a redo." Really? Think about it. You and me, your favorite author? I think I'd like that. Okay, I think I'd like that too. Cut to. They're laughing, drinking. He remembers her. They're talking about old English times. And Miranda's just like, and then it starts. And they all start kissing and everything. But then, just like old school, when Kim Cattrall in Sex and the City had a threesome with the girl, the waitress girl, and kicked her out, this time, of course, it's going to be Miranda, who ends, like a lot of threesomes do, with one woman on the edge of the bed crying. And she does. And then she goes running back upstairs, leaving the two of them boning, to her roommate, Samantha, to her roommate, Carrie, who's laid up with her cat with an orthopedic boot because she tripped at her heels at 60, and tells her story. And then Carrie goes, "What? You had a threesome with a da-da-da?" And she'll do like a weird pun that I can't think off the top of my head. And then she goes to Charlotte, and they're walking in her boot, and she goes, "I mean, I don't know how I feel about this. It's one thing to eat my yogurt. It's another thing to have a threesome with my neighbor downstairs and not be the one that gets to stay." And then Charlotte will go, "Did I tell you that Harry has prostate cancer? What? My boot and my threesome shouldn't take precedent over that." You're welcome. You're welcome. But obviously they've already filmed all the scenes, so maybe this can be for next season. Okay. Other great news. The Comeback. You guys, if you are not familiar with The Comeback, you have got to watch it. I believe it's on HBO. Just look it up. It's Lisa Kudrow's show that was ahead of its time. The first season was so brilliant. It was very fresh in the early infancies of reality TV. And Lisa Kudrow plays a sitcom star who's now trying to get back into a sitcom. And she has her own reality show crew following her, making a comeback as the funny aunt in a cheesy sitcom. It is so incredibly brilliant. She is so funny in it. It's my absolute favorite thing. Then they did a couple seasons. Then it came back. And of course I watched it. Now it's coming back again. And the stuff that she says is so funny. Like, I just saw a little clip from the show. And she's like, I was gonna do this movie, and it was about a woman who gets raped by the entire town. Her mother, her father, her brother, gets raped by everybody. But it was something but she can't, I didn't want to do it because it involved abortion. And I wanted to stay away from that theme. Also, it was filmed in Nova Scotia. And you get raped all day on set and then you can't have a nice dinner after? Not for me. Like, her point of view on the world is just so incredibly funny and realistic and hilarious. Thank you. Please do what you can. Get Lisa Kudrow on my show. She was my teacher. She was my inspiration. I did tell her I thought it was a mistake to leave the Groundlings to go do Friends. Thank God she didn't listen to me. But I'm excited about this. Also, Devil Wears Prada 2. Hollywood Reporter says it's in production with Anne Hathaway and Meryl Streep. This will be good. You know it will be. Something to look forward to. Meghan Markle, wow. There's been some issues with her products. First of all, she has a new rosé coming out. Pretty basic of a wine choice, but kind of goes with a light lunch, a jam. So I don't blame her. She is the breadwinner for the Prince of England, okay? It's up to her to sell this stuff. And she already has put the podcast on pause where she talked to entrepreneurs like, you know, the Spanx woman, like I predicted. Anyway, the jam, it's called an apricot spread because it doesn't have as much sugar as regular jam, which I also think is kind of a good marketing plan. Anyway, people weren't getting it on time. She said, her people said, you'll get a new one when it comes out. I don't really think that's a big deal. That's what's so hard about getting kids to school and having meetings and then finding out that there's an apricot shortage, and it's all those things. And you don't have your apricot spread yet. Yes, yet. You don't have it yet, but you will. And I'm so inspired that women know that an apricot spread elevates your life. And I'm also incorporating Meyer lemons into my honeycomb honey. And it's just lemony. Yes, it's lemony. So listen, people that are actually bought it are not pissed. They are waiting for their $28 honey and their $18 apricot spread, and it is sold out, and now you can get the rosé. And then people were like, but you can't buy one bottle of rosé. No, you can't. You know how much is to send a bottle of wine? No, it's package of 3, package of 6, package of 12. So if you want to help this mother, this hardworking mother, then, you know what I heard that I never talked about? Remember the famous story that I always thought was very impressive, and I still do, where she wrote a letter to the company for a commercial where it only showed women cleaning the house. And she said, why is it always just, hey women, hey moms, get this whatever cleaning thing. And it was a story, and we see cute little Meghan Markle when she's 11, because then they actually used her in like a news story about it. People wrote me and said, just so you know, the reason that got to be in the news is because her dad had connections. He was a set designer and props and everything, and knew who to go to. She was also in Los Angeles. Things like that happen. And then I had Ian and Cher on my show from the middle, and the way she got her start is the school she was at, a producer of The Tonight Show wanted to do a funny, like, kids say anything, and interviewed a bunch of kids, and she really popped. And from there, she, got work, got an agent, and consecutively has worked ever since. And so, yeah, it's an opportunity. So luck is where opportunity meets talent. It was a good story, and it happens, and that I don't hate. I don't hate anything. I still want to be on With Love Meghan. I don't care. I just don't start talking about housewives until you are one. If you want to be one, then I'm down. But if you start doing a pop culture podcast where you recap housewives, then I'm done. By the way, everybody is obsessed with Love Island. And I want you guys to know I am going to watch it this weekend. This is all anyone's talking about, and I think it's so great. This is Ariana Madix's show. She is the host. It was something she loved, that Tom was like, God, I don't have 50 hours to watch Love Island with you. And then after she found he was cheated and they broke up, she's, looking gorgeous, wearing her outfits, and it's like the hottest, most talked about show, way more than I feel in the zeitgeist than some of our other favorite reality shows like The Housewives that we've been doing. So I want to see it. I heard it's pretty slutty behavior, and I'm down for it. So I'd like to watch it. So don't you worry, I'm going to. Other big reality shows, Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. They have chosen 2 of the girls to be on Dancing with the Stars. One is the Jennifer Affleck, who was on my show, who was real cute. She just had her 3rd baby. So when it was announced, she was still pregnant at the reunion, and now it's out there. She will be starting that, which I kind of love. I assume they're going to, she won't start until she gets the medical clearance. But, it is great to see a mother of 3 get out there, exercise, show off her body. I think that's really cool. She was very famous from the start because she said, my husband is cousins to Ben Affleck. And then they actually talk about it in this season where he's like, why did you start that? She's like, you told me that. They're not related at all. So kind of fun. And then they also picked the girl Whitney, who also became famous because she was the one that, had a big TikTok following before they all got their show, part of the Mom Talk. And she had her baby in the NICU with a little plastic crib. And she was like doing those dancing, I love you. Da, 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 love you. And she was like dancing, and then the writing would be like, when your baby's in NICU and you found out like you can take him home in 2 days or whatever. And she was like showing her ass, and everyone thought she was a horrible mom and that she did it for sympathy and for views and this and that. But she can dance pretty well. And the way they announced it was Nick Viall was hosting, and he said, they all wanted it. They all could have gotten it, by the way. They all can dance a little. They're Mom Talk, and they did TikTok dances. And clearly the Taylor girl is like the most famous because she was the one who spilled the beans on the swinging that was happening. And he says it's Jen Affleck, and then she got all excited. And he goes, I know you're upset, Whitney, you wanted it. She's like, no, but I'm happy for Jen. And he goes, well, you're going too. And they jump up, and I think it's great. This is a hot new show with a lot of followers, a lot of social media following. They want people to actually watch the show. Essentially, there are 2 cast members competing against each other. I don't know why they never thought of doing this before with Vanderpump and other shows when they were at their peak, but I think it'll be good. Speaking of which, a lot of people were asking me, there is a story out there that Tom Schwartz of Vanderpump Rules, formerly married to Katy of Vanderpump Rules, is in fact dating Lala Kent. And according to Lala, who I talked to, this is not true. This is not true. But they are friends, and they've been on each other's podcasts, and they have some great chemistry as friends. And so I'm guessing that's where this story started. But there's like certain Instagram accounts that kind of just write stories and they make it look like a news story, and it has not been true. And that is what is of now, okay? So it's not true. But I would like to see more of Lala and Tom Schwartz on my TV. So whatever capacity that might be would be okay with me. The Valley was on last night. We saw Kristen get engaged. It was sweet. I need a little more to happen in the show. I like all the cast members. They're nice. But I don't know. We'll see where it's going. There really isn't much to report. But let me talk about the new Golden Bachelor. The Golden Bachelor, as you recall, there was the guy, he was 72. He married a woman who was like 73. They got divorced after a couple months because they decided they didn't want to live in the same place, whatever. Then we had Joan. I didn't really watch that season. She was the Bachelorette. I believe she's still with her guy. I don't even know. She was a pretty blonde. There is the Golden Bachelor. His name is Mel Owens, and he's 66, and he's a former NFL player and coach, whatever. And so they're about to start filming soon. They announced him as the Bachelor. So they didn't pick any of like the leftovers from, I don't think, from Jones. I think they just picked like a new guy, as they should, because it's got to be someone desirable. And he went on a podcast about football just recently and said, I told them, because they were asking, oh, we heard you're going to be the Golden Bachelor. And he's like, yeah, I said, I'm not dating anybody over 60. So all the women have to be under 60. And he's 66. And I think his last wife was 20 years younger than he. Then he said, and they have to be fit, which I think I don't think that's a terrible thing. He said they have to be fit. I'm fit. I need them to be fit. But they just can't be over 60. So people did not like that. They're like, this is ageist, da-da-da-da. I'm not going to watch this asshole. And, of course, I'm guessing the producers said, hey, don't talk about this but they can't control a 66-year-old man that has already had a career in TV talking about football and stuff. So they're probably dying. So now the rumor is, will they replace him with another old fart who is okay with not saying shit on a podcast for free, okay? Whoever they get next, they're going to be like, we're going to sequester you like you're a juror on the OJ trial, because we could not have you out talking to people and saying stuff about, he said, I'm not into any artificial hips or wigs. I mean, what does that mean? A lot of people have hair extensions. What if a woman has to wear a wig? Maybe he's being honest, and he has a right to be honest. Every guy on a dating app lies and then is honest with their friend or whatever. But this is the show. And it's a bummer because he was a good-looking guy, and he obviously has some bucks, and he's probably pretty charming to be hanging out with. But we'll see what happens with it. The Golden Bachelor is kind of interesting because you're dealing with, women and they get to become friends with each other, and that can be really fun. However, they still have to live at the house like the young girls. They, I assume, have to do their own hair and makeup. Maybe they have some people help them out for like the more bigger nights or whatever. And just like anything with The Bachelor, you do start to pine and fall for the guy because you have nothing else. You're not working, you're not with your family, you're not cleaning your house, you're not reading a book, you're not watching TV, you're not listening to a podcast, you're not recording a podcast. You're just waiting every 3 days to maybe see the guy. So, the guy is in a great position for these women to fall in love with him. So we'll see what happens. Oh, this was kind of fun. So this cute girl named Liv is her name, and she is 6'5", and she goes and tells what it's like to be 6'5", and what everybody says to her when she walks in. And she's very attractive, played volleyball, and she's telling her story of being a tall woman, and it just was so interesting because it's she's yes, I know what everybody always asks. My mom was 5'10", my dad was 6'5", I'm 6'5" now. Yes, I played volleyball in school. No, I don't play it professionally. It's so funny. So we were talking about it, and my tall son told me, oh, I saw a video of a guy who's 7 feet tall, and someone was just filming him behind, and the way people look at him and everything, and what they say, and they hand him, and sometimes people start asking him a question, he just hands him a card that says what sport he plays, how tall his parents were, his size of his shoe, what he weighs, what his height is. And so I don't know, maybe because I was looking at this, then I popped off, and there's this guy called Tyler Bergatino who sets up tall people meetups. And all these tall people just go to a bar or whatever. And the guys, some are as tall as 7'2". They all look happy and confident and attractive. And then some of the tall girls will come, and some are like 5'10", 5'9", 5'10". I mean, me, I've always been considered tall, but I mean, you know, whatever. And then, of course, there's just a couple little small cuties that weaseled their way in. And I always remember this one comedian that I worked with. He was tall, and he said, my wife is, you know, 5'2" or whatever. And people will just scream at her and be like, stick to your own kind, like other tall women. Like, leave why are you trying to steal all our men? And it's really funny. But I think that the reason people will always ask someone who's tall, like, how tall are you? Did you play this sport? They don't think that it's rude. And they don't think it's rude because I think everybody just thinks to be that tall is the greatest gift. And therefore, asking about it is almost like a compliment, like, wow. I mean, because no one would say that to somebody that was very little or you know, very heavy. You wouldn't say, wow, what do you weigh? But it can be awkward for someone who's tall. And I just think it's one of those things like no one ever thinks about because you're just always like in awe of it. And you think their life just must be so great until they have to fly coach. Okay. Let me see if there's any. How much time did we do?
56.
Okay, let's do a couple more. No, I don't want to talk about that. Okay. This is one of the stories that I have not touched that much upon because it is so sad and gross. And it's really sad that this is like being picked up by so many news people. Now listen, they have to put out so many shows, so many articles themselves. But Lily Phillips shares her plans to sleep with widows before she has sex with 1,113 men in 12 hours. You're like, Heather, why that number? Well, I guess somebody had slept with 1,112. And, you know, she wants to be in the Guinness Book of World Records. Does that book still exist? Again, cute. Looks like she could be your daughter's sorority sister. I don't get this. I don't understand it. I think it's disgusting. I don't know who these men are. I don't know if this counts as just the tip, 3 pumps and you're done. Who's running the clock? Who's providing snacks? Who has to do the camera work? Does she get a break? Does she, you know, like, who are her parents? I mean, all of it. Who's sponsoring it? What energy drink keeps it going? Do they provide Uber vouchers to get the people there? Is she friends with the other girls that do this? Are the 3 of them going to go on tour together like Real Housewives, but on a cruise? I don't know. I mean, I remember there were these contests before when there were old-fashioned porn stars that I'd see at my local Starbucks, and that would film on VHS tape, and they'd have little, they'd have the same type of like breaking the records and all of this kind of stuff, and I'd watch it like I'd watch their talk shows like on public access, and I was just like fascinated by it. But this doesn't fascinate me. 1, it's not original. 2, I don't even know if it's true. And 3, I'm so freaked out. And if you read the comments, people are like, why? Please stop reporting on this, please. Well, I want to just say, I hope you guys have a great 4th of July. And I'm pretty excited because, as you know, I've moved and I actually live in a cute community that does stuff. My old house, we never did anything for 4th of July. There was never anything going on really, unless you were going to invite people to your own house and have your own barbecue. So in my area, they are having a cupcake making contest, a chili cook-off, and they are having a pet parade with a winner. So, and they said they can wear outfits. Well, it's a hot day, so I'm not going to put my fur baby in an outfit, but I do have this little handkerchief. I'm a Delight Juicy Scoop, and we are bringing Raven out of retirement. In case you don't know, Raven is my dog. She's an Alaskan Klee, and we adopted her when she was 7 during the summer of 2020. And she was a former model. She was a showgirl. She was in Best in Show. According to her previous owners, she wasn't that successful. She never really got there. So then, because she was so attractive, they made her a breeding dog. And so I guess once a year, she had to go in a room and make love to someone that looked just like her. And then have several babies that she never really got to hang out with again. So it was a tough life. So when I found her, I felt there was a real kingship between us. At the time, she was 7. And if you do that dog years, that's 49. I was the exact same age. And I was like, I really think she's my soul sister. I think she's my spirit animal, literally. And so she's coming out of retirement, just like the Golden Bachelorette. She is going to strut her stuff. She still looks great. She looks like a husky who's had work done. She has a tiny nose, gorgeous eyes. We are going to put this on her. And I'm hoping that she wins. And if she doesn't, you know what? It's just about getting out there. It's about getting out there and doing what makes you happy, which would probably be just staying in our house in the air conditioning. But we are going to strut her stuff. And we are pretty excited about the 4th of July plans. As I talked about with Chris, I highly suggest you don't try to do too many parties in one day. Narrow it down to 2. Don't drink and drive. Don't light fireworks that could catch your neighborhood on fire. Like Lisa Rinna and the pretty mess, Eric Jade said, one good hot dog a year. You can have one good hot dog a year. You can. Oh my God. You know what I love is one good hot dog a year. You can have a great, or I'll do my Jennifer Coolidge. Oh, you look like the 4th of July. I want a hot dog real bad. There's so many fun things that you can do. And then just honor our country at the same time. And then if you want more and you're working on your Jell-O mold, you can listen to my Friday Patreon, which will be coming out 4th of July. And you go to heathermcdonald.net and you click onto that, and that's all the juicy stuff. Even juicier than what is here. And it's always pretty funny as well. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend and be safe out there. Love you. Bye.